everybody. Welcome to Real Words. I'm Rayanne Thorn Krueger, your host and producer for this podcast/broadcast. Very excited to continue my series called the Beachtown series, and it's basically celebrating an author pop-up event that's taking place at Beachtown Books in San Clemente. My guest today is a featured author at that event. It's Farnaz Calafi. Hi, Farnaz. Thanks for joining me.
No, thank you for inviting me.
And I'm saying your name correctly. Is that
There is
right?
no wrong way to say it. I have
There's
many
no.
versions of my name and I love them all. So,
Oh, I love that. How open-minded and welcoming that is to feel
oh,
that way. So, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, let's jump right in. I would love for you to give us an introduction of yourself. I know that you have a journalist background and have written for the LA Times and featured in USA Today. So, tell us a little bit about your background and what led to your recent book.
all right. So, I actually was born in a different country in Iran and I came to Orange County as a teenager. And I went to UC Irvine
Okay.
and I studied environmental studies out of all things. And I actually initially wanted to be a choreographer. I love dance and modern dance and ballet. And UC Irvine actually has one of the best, not a lot of people know this, but it has one of the best dance programs in the US. So I was taking those classes with all the pros, with all the ballerinas, and I
Wow.
felt so out of place because I never had a background in ballet or modern dance. But lucky for me, there was one of my classmates. She would write for the newspaper, UCI's newspaper, and she told me that why don't you become a like an art reporter? We'll give you free tickets. You can go see all the dances for
Oh,
free,
wow.
all the plays for free, and you just have to write reviews. And back then, I had like very little money. I was a student. I said, "This is fantastic." So I became their art reporter, and that's how my writing life really started. And
Wow.
I decided to study journalism. And I went after graduation. I wanted to go like far away from Orange County, so I chose Syracuse, upstate New York, and I got my master's there. And right after graduating from Syracuse, I got a job in LA Times. I never wrote for LA Times, but I was their publications coordinator. I had an editorial position. So unfortunately, I loved my LA Times job, but unfortunately, as most newspapers went through a lot of turmoil, that's when I was there. And our department sort of had to shift and like replace its staff. And I was offered a job as a PR, a public relations, uh, like staff, and I didn't want to do public relations. So I said, you know what, this is a good time for me to take a break and go to New York because I love New York City. And
Yes.
so I ended up there. I worked for a magazine. It was called Gear Magazine, which is like no longer in business. It was a men's magazine. It
I
had
think I
very
remember
creative.
that one.
Yes, it was sort of like Maxim, but it did actually have
Okay.
very good writers. But it was not a very like like it was not a writing magazine. Let's just say that. And I did all kinds of things there. I was an interpreter in a court, and I did a lot of freelance. And then I eventually came back here because all my family's here. So, and it's very expensive to live in New York City.
Well, it's not cheap to live in Orange County, so
It's not either. You're right. I think Newport Beach is actually more expensive. So,
yeah, it's
I,
costly, I think, to live anywhere on either coast, but the cost of living across the country has increased so much. So
very
you
true.
got to really pick and choose where you're going to live and have it be worth it.
Right.
Have
Yeah.
whatever you do there, whether it's work or play or raising a family or friends and gatherings, art,
But the good thing you can
music, right?
write exactly at any coast, East Coast, West Coast.
Right.
So that's a good thing about writing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today here on Real Words, which is a celebration of original content written by real people. And I'm happy to have you here and tell us a little bit about your book. So give us the rundown of your book.
Okay, so this is my first children's book. It's actually my first fiction book because before this, I did a nonfiction book.
Okay.
And it's called Hazel and Her Sun, SUN. And it's about a girl who loves the sun so much that she decides to steal it and hide it in a fishbowl
Oh,
inside her room. I know. Only a kid would think that.
how
But
wonderful.
yes. So, and then the world goes dark, and she realizes that like having selfish dreams is not necessarily a good thing. And she realizes that everyone loves the sun, everyone needs the sun. So she decides that, to really sit back, and she does that. But meanwhile, she does have like a relationship with the sun. They do talk, and she tells the sun that I have to release you back to the sky. And so she does that. No spoilers here, but I guess I can. So, so she does release it back to the sky.
Well, that's wonderful. And your book will be featured at the author pop-up event this weekend. My guest today is Farnaz Calafi, and we're talking not only about her book, but maybe a little bit about her process, why choose writing. We learned a little bit about that, starting off as a dancer and embracing art. And part of that art is writing about art. And so we're so glad to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about your process and why choose to write a children's book. That's quite a departure for you.
It is, yeah, because I always thought I would do just nonfiction. And having studied journalism and doing my first book as a nonfiction, just the story came to me. So I think, like, as a writer, you should never block anything. Like, if something comes to you, take it and appreciate it. And so the story came to me, and it was actually inspired by my goldfish, because I do have a goldfish. And one day I was looking at its colors, and it was gold and orange. And I thought, oh, these are the same colors as sunset and sunrise. So what if a child thinks that, the sun could be in that fishbowl? And so when the story came to me, I said, okay, I'll try writing a fiction, like a children's book. And that's what I did. And I
How
really
wonderful.
enjoyed the process. Yeah.
And it has illustrations. So tell us a little bit about that process. Did you do the art? Did you
I
hire an
wish. I'm
artist?
not that talented. I wish it was. Actually, a lot of children's book authors are also illustrators, but this was done through my publisher, and I have
Okay.
no idea how they went through the process. I just know that they offered me the final product.
Yeah. And you're happy with it.
I am happy with it. I did actually send a picture of my mom, and I said I want Hazel, the main character, to look like her, and they did a good
Oh,
job. Yes.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, if you could give any advice to a new writer or a young writer, what would that be?
Well, it's the old advice that everyone says, which is keep writing. But if I may add, there is no right or wrong way to do your own writing. Some people are morning writers. Some people do it in the evening. Some people edit as they go. Some just wait till the final
Right.
product. I think you should find as a writer what works for you, and don't listen to anyone, because it's like diet. One works for one body, one doesn't work for one body. So you have to see what brings the best out of you and just follow that
That's great
and
advice.
enjoy. I think having fun is the best part of writing. If you are enjoying, you're on the right path. If you're not enjoying, you could be doing the right thing. You just have to like keep on going until you find the process, enjoyable.
Yeah, I've received some advice one time is if you aren't enjoying it, if you aren't loving it, then you have to figure out how to. So learn to love it. And that might be just embracing the part of the story that's tough, enjoying that part that's hard to get through and learn to love it. That's my
Right.
consistent advice. So we are
Absolutely.
in an interesting time for content creators. Anybody who scrolls through TikTok or Instagram or the Facebook reels and stories can hear AI voices, right?
Mhm.
AI voices often accompany these small video clips or images. We also know that AI is becoming a very popular way to write, right? If
Mhm.
when you consider Chat GPT or to come up with the research, which is Chat GPT and other products like that don't necessarily deliver truth
Mhm.
when they're creating a written piece of content. So as you look at what might be in the head ahead in the future for writers, Do you think we're at risk of losing original thought, original content, creativity? Are creators going to have to work harder to get noticed? What are your thoughts about where AI is taking us?
Well, I mean, it's there's no way to stop this anyway, so it's no use worrying about it. But I think it doesn't stop creativity because it's based on creativity that already existed. So AI doesn't create itself; it just gathers and collects from other people's creativity. So I think it's a good way to brainstorm. I think for writers and research, but I actually am against using AI to create anything, obviously, as a writer, as many writers are,
Right.
to creating it and naming it as original. That's not legal, that's not right, it's not even creative. I mean, I've tried like Gemini, Google's AI,
Yeah.
just to see how it comes up with script ideas, and honestly I find them horrible. But
Well, I
it's
think
a good yeah.
from what I've heard is you spend more time rewriting it than if you had written it yourself,
Exactly. You
right?
do. I mean, I honestly haven't found any idea that was like good enough for me as, personally. But it's good for research, it's good for brainstorming, it's good when you just want to have a conversation with AI, which, believe it or not, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing to be afraid of or avoid it, but definitely don't count it as the real deal, because it's not the real deal. It's just a computer, keyboards helping you get through things.
That's a really great way of looking at it, kind of learning how to partner with it, use it a way that seems that is ethical, that
Mhm.
doesn't hinder the creative process. That's my biggest concern is I'm not concerned about the software, the technology, the
Mhm.
it taking away jobs, although it most certainly will.
Right.
I am more concerned about the loss of creativity.
Mhm.
So if we learn how to use it to either be more creative or in other ways, because I
Mhm.
know that in design it's being used, but a lot of what it produces for design and imagery isn't very good. And it looks
Yeah.
fake, or a leg is missing, or an extra finger is added, right? So we have
It
to
has
be
a long way
really,
to go to be any good. And I
that's
actually, in
right.
a way, I hope it doesn't go that far, but it probably will. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. So hopefully though we can maintain and continue to celebrate those original providers, the original providers, creators of content. So
yeah.
as you look ahead for yourself now, what's next? I know you're celebrating the book. I know that you're visiting bookstores and events and celebrating Hazel and Her Sun.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
So actually, believe it or not, I'm working on a script. I never thought I would like script writing, but I took a class and I fell in love with it. And now I'm in the mid, I'm like more than halfway finished through a script. And that's why I think writers should never say never, because whatever comes to you or whatever you enjoy, embrace it. So in a million years, I never thought I would do plays. I never thought I would do dialogues, but I am enjoying it and I'm doing a
So
script right
what
now.
what drove you to do this? Was it just something that happened or something you read about, or what
It was a
inspired you
lucky
to write a play?
Oh, sure. So it was first, it started with a lucky email I got for a script writing class, and it's Mark Sevy's class. It's on Zoom, but he's an amazing instructor. And I took the class just thinking, you know what, I'm just going to do the intro. It's only a few weeks, I'll just give it a go. And I fell in love with it. I love
Oh,
the interaction of the students and writing process. And I do love writing like fictional dialogues and all that. So
I love
yeah,
it.
so now I'm doing.
So what is your process like for that? Is it in a quiet place, or are you okay writing in a busy place, or do you have
Yeah,
to really, because this is something new for you, do you really
right.
have to concentrate and really get into it and dedicate so many minutes or hours a day, or how is it different than your other writing process?
In a way, it's actually, that's a great question. I never thought of it because in my younger days, I like to go to coffee shops and study and write and all that. But like for writing the script, I feel like I've noticed that I do like the quiet time and quiet place. But to be honest, script writing can be a lot easier than nonfiction, because for nonfiction, and especially I'm very like very picky. I have to like research everything
Right.
1,000 times to make sure it's the latest research, it's true, because it's offered as nonfiction. But with fiction, like it's your opinion, and you can just basically, it's a story, and you can just create it in a much faster pace. So that said, I do still like to, have the base of it as a true story, sort of like realistic
Right.
plot. So I still have to do some kind of research, but it does give you a lot more freedom. Fiction does.
So after this, will you consider screenwriting?
I would love to. I mean, I always say that I'll see what my audience likes. So like when I was a nonfiction writer, I did a few times, I did events where I did poetry, and people loved my poetry, and I never like took poetry seriously. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to do poetry. But I said, if the audience likes it, who am I to decide? I just want to connect with the audience. And if they enjoy it, then it's something that maybe I should consider. So if my script turns out well, of course, I would love to do more scripts.
Okay, well, I know you're not done writing it, and without giving anything away, is your play going to be a comedy or a straight play or tragedy, or what are you
Yeah,
considering?
it's a drama slash suspense. Yeah, I'm trying to
Oh,
get more suspense, but it's definitely drama. It's a heavy subject. So
wow, that gave me
yeah,
chills. The first thing I thought of was Wait Until Dark. I don't know if you're familiar with that script, but
yeah.
was also made into a movie. It was a play made
Okay.
into a movie, and you should look it up because that's full of suspense and so fun to read and be a part of that. As an actor, I've done some acting in my life, so I love
Nice.
those type of scripts. So I'm looking forward to reading that, and best of
Thank you.
luck with
Thank
all
you.
of
Yeah,
that.
I love Agatha Christie like plays. So
Oh, so
that.
great.
She's a great writer. Yeah.
Wow, I can't wait to read it.
So, well,
I'm looking forward to picking up your book, Hazel and Her Sun,
thank you.
SUN. I want to make sure that it
Yeah.
comes across
Yeah.
that it is about the sun in the
That's fine.
sky.
Mhm.
Are there any thoughts of a sequel or writing another Hazel
No,
book?
I know I really appreciate people who do sequels, but I don't know. I'm just not, I'm like a one story kind of author so far, but who knows? That might
Yeah.
change because everything about my writing process has changed. So why not that? Yeah.
Why not? I
But
love
not
that
for
you've
this one.
kept an open mind. Before we get away, Farnaz, I would love for you to tell us if you have any favorite authors or favorite books or works that have inspired you in your life and in your career.
Sure. So Agatha Christie is one of my favorite writers. And in college, undergrad, I took a Jane Austen course. And
Oh,
obviously, I love Jane Austen because it's just the romance of the novels. She really knew human nature well. So, and then there's another one who's an Iranian author that I used to read as a child, and his name is Samad Behrangi. And I don't think his books are really translated, but he was an
okay.
amazing writer, and he died very young. So, but I used to read his YA and children's books in Farsi. So, these three are
Oh, how
yeah.
delightful. Have you thought about writing in Farsi?
I could translate. Yeah, I could. Yeah, I mean, I could. I'm not that good, but for children's book, I could definitely
You
do it.
could
Yeah,
probably do it.
I
Well,
could do it.
it's wonderful. And it's been such a pleasure to speak with you. I look forward to meeting you. When will you be at the bookstore? On Sunday
So
or Saturday? Saturday?
on Sunday,
Sunday
12
the 21st. Perfect.
minutes.
Well, we will see you then, and hopefully there will be many people there ready to pick up your book. And please keep us informed. I would love to celebrate your script once it's published and ready to be talked about. I would love to have you come back and talk about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. Such
Such
a
a
pleasure.
pleasure to have you here. And
Mhm.
we will see you next time, everyone.
Yes. Ciao.